As a 26-year-old woman, I had always leaned toward a quieter, more solitary life. This preference deepened after my parents' separation during my teenage years. They quickly moved on to new partners as if they were playing a carefree game of pretend, while I was left feeling like a discarded puzzle piece that no longer belonged. In what seemed like an instant, I went from being their treasured daughter to an uneasy outsider at their cheerful family events. The loneliness pressed down on me more than I could ever put into words. Still, I carved out a life for myself, stepping away from their pretense of peace. I landed a job, settled into a modest but cozy apartment, and even brought a feline friend into my world. Just as I thought I'd fully separated myself from their fabricated reality, my parents began reaching out, claiming they wanted to rebuild our bond. A part of me longed to trust their intentions, but during a clumsy phone call, my father let slip about a sizable inheritance from my wealthy grandparents. The cold reality hit me hard. Their sudden warmth wasn't for me, it was for the money they stood to gain. My grandparents' fortune was considerable, but it came with a condition. The family had to come together for the will's reading, including me, the outcast. If I didn't show up, my parents would walk away with nothing from the $1 million estate. It became painfully clear that their urgency to pull me back into their lives was purely for their own financial benefit. They pleaded with me to join them at my grandparents' home, trying to sway me with tales of family ties and fond memories. But I saw right through their hollow words. All they wanted was to lock in their lavish future. It was a stinging truth. To them, I was just a tool to unlock their inheritance. Emotions swirled inside me, anger, betrayal, and a flicker of triumph clashing together. I had a decision to make. I could let them stew in their deceit, neglect, and fake affection, or I could play along, swallow my pride, and give them what they craved. It was a tough call, but then it dawned on me. I held the power to flip the script. They needed me, not the other way around. I could join their game, let them think they'd succeeded, attend the reading, and then at the last second, ensure they left empty-handed. It was a cunning move, no question, but it felt like the least they deserved for treating me as a piece in their greed-driven puzzle. So I agreed to go with them to my grandparents' house, acting the part of the obedient daughter, pretending I was clueless to their plot. But I had an ace hidden away. I wasn't about to let them win or profit off my compliance. I contacted my grandparents' lawyer to get a firm grasp on the will's exact terms. He confirmed that the inheritance hinged on the whole family being present at the reading. If I opted out, the entire fortune would go to charities. This knowledge gave me a rush of control, though it also stirred a nagging pang of guilt. Sure, my parents had used and ignored me, but was it right to strip them of their inheritance just to spite them? I was torn, my feelings swinging between justified fury and remorse. I couldn't stop thinking about my grandparents, who'd always been kind and loving. They were old school, dreaming of a united family, even if it was just for show by now. Would they have wanted me to weaponize their will for revenge? That question gnawed at me, robbing me of sleep night after night. Part of me wanted to honor their hope for togetherness, even if it was fake, but another part rebelled, refusing to be a pawn in my parents' money-hungry scheme. During this time, my parents turned oddly caring, checking in, asking about my life, even inviting me to meals with their new partners. It was obvious they were trying to charm me, but it only deepened my resentment. It was a stark reminder of the love they could have shown me all along but didn't until cash was on the table. My bitterness swelled, hardening my resolve to follow through with my plan. Yet that persistent guilt wouldn't let go. I was caught in a moral bind where every choice seemed to paint me as the bad guy to someone. After talking with the lawyer and facing my parents' increasing efforts, I was drowning in mixed emotions. To sort through the mess, I turned to therapy, hoping it would bring some calm to the storm inside me. In those sessions, I found a way to vent my pain, anger, and confusion, slowly unraveling how my feelings were steering my decisions. My therapist suggested I try talking to my parents for real, despite my reluctance. I couldn't dismiss the chance it might give me some closure. I also leaned on my best friend, Leela, who'd been my rock through all this. She backed my therapist's advice, urging me to let my parents explain themselves. With a mix of nerves and determination, I went to a family gathering at my dad's place. The air was thick with tension. Me, my parents, their partners, all faking a happy scene that hid the strain underneath. In that awkward setting, I took the chance to lay it all out. I called them out on their neglect, their convenient timing for reconciliation, and their lack of real regret or effort to fix things. I wanted a heartfelt sorry, some sign they truly cared, but all I got was silence, defensiveness, and weak excuses. It hurt, though it wasn't surprising. That moment locked in my belief that their interest was tied only to the inheritance. It stung, but it also set me free. I didn't feel bound to keep up the act for my grandparents' sake anymore. So here I am, still at a turning point, but with a sharper sense of my feelings and my parents' true aims. My drive to stop them from cashing in on my presence has only grown, though I can't shake the guilt of going against my grandparents' final wish for family unity. I'm so thankful for all the support, advice, and different views that have guided me through this mess. The last few weeks have been an emotional ride, facing my parents, wrestling with guilt and rage. In the end, I chose to stop going to family events. I couldn't handle the fake love and hidden tension anymore. It wasn't worth the toll it took on me. My choice cut my parents off from the inheritance, and though guilt gnawed at me, I felt a strange relief wash over me. After a lot of thought, I decided to talk to my grandparents about everything. I was nervous about how they'd take it, but I owed them the truth. I gathered my courage, visited them, and spilled it all. Their sudden interest, their obvious manipulation, the confrontation, and my final call. To my surprise, they were incredibly understanding. They were upset about my parents' actions, apologized for unintentionally putting me in this spot, and stood by my decision. They told me they were proud of who I'd become despite everything and made it crystal clear that they didn't want their will used for greed or control. In a twist I didn't see coming, they decided to change their will, cutting my parents out and giving the money to charities they'd long supported. They felt it was a better way to use their wealth, avoiding more family strife. They thanked me for being honest and assured me their love didn't depend on a will's rules. Their kindness and support lifted a huge weight off me. I felt free for the first time in years, no longer a piece in my parents' game. It was a powerful release. When I told my parents my decision, they were livid, blaming me for their loss. Guilt tugged at me briefly, but I shook it off. I wasn't the one who brought greed into this. Now I'm at peace, out of the toxic trap that had choked me for so long, and excited to move forward. I can't thank you all enough for being part of this journey, helping me through this tough spot. Your encouragement gave me the strength to stand up for myself when I was just a tool for their gain. It's amazing that I opened up to my grandparents, and in the end they chose to do what felt right, donating their fortune to charity instead of letting it feed more deceit. My parents brought dishonesty into this and paid for it. I tried hard to fix things with them, faced them head-on about their actions and lack of remorse, and saw their real motives. I had every right to walk away from their sham, and my grandparents' backing proved I made the right call. It's sad they only cared when money was involved, and their failure to own up to it says it all. I took charge, made a hard choice, and it's uplifting to know my grandparents stood by me. On another note, I'm a 27-year-old woman, soon to wed Josh, my 29-year-old partner of 6 years. We've faced plenty of ups and downs together, and it's only made us stronger. We're thrilled about our upcoming wedding and starting this new chapter as a team. I've decided to take Josh's last name, a tradition that feels right to me even if not everyone agrees. I love the idea of sharing his name and officially joining his family. It's a comforting symbol of our bond. When I told Josh, he was all in, which made me love and respect him even more. His steady support gave me the confidence to embrace it fully. But when I shared the news with my friends and family, their reactions threw me off. My fiercely independent feminist mom was disappointed, thinking I was setting a bad example for my younger sisters by giving up my identity. My dad, while more open, worried about how it might affect my ties with my mom and sisters. Even my friends, mostly feminists, came down hard, saying I was feeding into outdated norms and suggesting a woman needs a man to define her. I tried to explain it was my choice, a way to build on my identity, not lose it, that feminism means supporting each other's decisions even when they differ. But their harsh responses left me feeling guilty and unsure. I started questioning myself, wondering if I was blindly following some old tradition. I was caught between my joy and the fear of pushing away people I care about. Josh was upset by their reactions too and offered to step in, but I knew I had to face it alone. Even with my resolve, I felt lost and unheard amid all the clashing opinions. Your amazing support and wise advice have given me a new angle on this, and I'm truly grateful. I've always believed in talking things out, so I took some of your suggestions and invited my friends and family over for an honest chat. I hoped a relaxed setting would ease the strain and open the door to a real, respectful discussion. I braced myself to hear them out and share my side calmly, aiming for some common ground despite our differences. When they arrived, the tension was thick. I tried to lighten the mood with small talk, but it felt fragile. Finally, I dove in, telling them how their first reactions hurt me, making me feel like they doubted my values. I stressed that taking Josh's name was my personal call, not a betrayal of feminism or equality, and asked them to respect it as I did their views. Their responses varied. My mom seemed relieved I wasn't abandoning my beliefs. She'd just been worried about how others might see me and wanted to protect me from judgment. My sisters stayed quiet, taking it in but not saying much. My friends, though, were caught off guard. I don't think they expected me to push back. It was uncomfortable but necessary, and I felt lighter afterward. Then things shifted unexpectedly. Lydia, a friend with fierce feminist views, doubled down, calling my choice backward and accusing me of bowing to society's rules. She said a real feminist would keep her own name to defy the patriarchy. Her words cut deep, and I started doubting myself again. Was I being old-fashioned? Was I just trying to fit in? The uncertainty crept back in, and the rest of the night blurred. I was drained, excused myself, and let them leave on their own. Josh was a rock, but I felt stuck. I even wondered if I should rethink my choice to keep the peace. I can't thank you all enough for your incredible support and thoughtful input. It's been a lifeline through this rough patch. After that tense talk, I took a few days to think it over, wrestling with the same question. Was I betraying my values? Was it wrong to want my husband's name? I opened up to Josh, and he, as ever, stood by me, saying he'd back whatever I chose. For a clearer view, I booked a counselor, hoping for some insight. That session was a game changer. We dug into my guilt, doubts, and conflicts, and she helped me see that feminism is about choice, being free to live how you want, not just bucking norms. She said taking Josh's name wasn't giving in. It was my decision, one that brought me joy. That hit home, giving me fresh confidence. I wasn't losing myself. I was adding to who I am. It was about our partnership, and that felt empowering and meaningful. With that clarity, I told Josh, and he was thrilled I'd found peace in the storm. His support was everything, but I still worried about my family and friends, especially my mom and sisters. I didn't want this to break us apart. So I wrote them a letter laying out my heart, hoping they'd get it. After days of soul-searching, I stuck to my plan. I'd take Josh's name. Felt right, not like I was shrinking myself, but proving I could choose my path. I wrote it all down for my loved ones. Why I picked this, how it didn't lessen my feminism or independence, and how much I valued them, asking them to respect my call. I sent it off and waited, anxious for their replies. It took a bit, but they started coming in. My mom called first, emotional, apologizing for not seeing my side sooner. She owned her mistake and promised to stand by me. My sisters chimed in too, sorry and supportive. Lydia, the loudest critic, stayed silent, but other friends reached out, regretting they hadn't understood earlier. It was a relief. Things weren't fully fixed, but the healing had begun. Their tone was warm and sorry, and I felt sure I wouldn't lose them over this. This taught me that personal choices ripple out, but staying true to yourself matters most. I'm so grateful to you all for your advice, stories, and encouragement. It's kept me steady. The road ahead might still wobble, but I'm ready. I've learned to weigh others' views but not let them drown out my truth. As a proud feminist, I believe in choice. That's the core of it. Our names don't define us. Our actions and stance do. By owning my decision, I've shown my faith in freedom and strength, and that's feminist as hell. I won't let anyone tell me different. I handled this with grit and grace, and I'm proud of that. It was hard. I care about my people and didn't want to wound them, but my choices deserve respect too. Real relationships don't hinge on always agreeing. True feminism backs choice, and I've got every right to chase what makes me happy. I'm glad I stood tall, and it took guts. I'm not alone, and I'm so thankful for your support.